Good evening, folks. I thought I'd do a new studio talk video, but this time not on the albums, but actually on the remixes, because I've done a few over a brief period of time. We go back to 2018. I think it was the first time I was asked about getting involved in a remix. Never really thought about this kind of thing before. I don't know, I just thought it was left to other people, but subsequently I was given the stems, put them into the program, and then started fiddling around, and then I was on the way. Started realising that it's quite a fun thing to do, but it was apprehensive. I did find it apprehensive because when you're working on other people's work, you're trying to be true to them, while simultaneously trying to add input, I suppose, from your perspective or the type of music that you make, and that may well be the reason why someone wants to have a remix. I've never actually asked. Maybe that is it entirely. They just want your style, your sound, whatever makes you tick, I suppose, involved in something they've created. And it's definitely different to a collaboration, as an example, because a remix is exactly what it says on the tin. So we go back to 2018, and well, he's known as John Galaxy, or Johnny Galaxy, but he's also known as Screamershock, and he was on the Pink Dolphin label, as I was. Yeah, I can't remember if it was Rich from Pink Dolphin or John or both who got in contact with me first, but it was the track Zero, I think, that was homed in on me, and that was put my way. And so I didn't really know much about remixing apart from the remixes I'd heard myself growing up, 12 inches and that kind of thing. Predominantly, in my case, it was always Depeche Mode mainly. I was buying them particular 12 inches from, and sort of reflecting back on them kind of Depeche Mode original remixes. They always sounded very similar to the track, but they were just somehow adapted. So when it came to doing Zero, as an example, for John, I literally just did exactly that, really. I remember adapting that track, putting some bits and bobs of my feel to it, but trying to work out the speeds, the tempo, just doing some adjustments, really, and just, I don't know, I can't really explain it, but just trying to flesh out and strip down a little bit of the original track, but then make it just sound like an adapted version of the original. I don't think John was too impressed, I'm not sure. The track ended up on his album opposed to his own track, and I really appreciate that. That's really nice. But I don't know if I was getting the right picture, and I don't know if I even enjoyed the experience myself to some extent, because you're always living in doubt whether or not you're actually producing something that someone actually wants, or they just reflect that maybe that's all you can do. Yeah, it's an odd thing. So my dip into it, my debut, should I say, was, I don't know, it didn't leave me like I wanted to do more remixes, to be quite honest with you. It really made me feel that I wanted to just embark upon my own work, where I know that what I'm trying to produce and create is 100% for me, opposed to trying to get my brain into, or my attitude, my mindset into thinking how someone else is perhaps going to want that presented. But as I say, maybe I've answered my own questions. Maybe it is just that you make an interpretation of that into something that is yours, but trying your best to stick with the other artists simultaneously. However, saying that, I've never done a mix up until now from someone that it's not my cup of tea. Everyone's mixes I've done up until now, they're all artists I appreciate and respect, and I think they do really good work. So yeah, I don't know if particular artist would come my way and I'd get the same feeling and vibe. But I should cap that come the end of that Zero Hammer Mix 190C remix that I did back in 2018, I did feel strongly that perhaps I don't think I want to do that again. Now I've got this thing in my way. It's just to demonstrate some of the remixes that are present on YouTube. But because I think this has been in my way far too long now, I'm going to swivel it over there or something. There you go. I can see myself in more. Yeah, there you go. It's out of vision now, so I can just concentrate directly on yourself. So yeah, some time went by between I was asked about the next remix. I think because I'd spoken to both John and to Rich about not wanting to do remixes again. I think potentially that was the only direction remixes were going to come from anyhow. But I was approached back in 2019 by a guy who calls himself All Atomic. And what interested me about that particular project, whereas I said no before, was the fact that I did actually like the tune. I really like this particular tune. But oddly enough, I I did exactly the same thing again. I got this tune and adapted it to pretty much the same as what was. Again, the feedback was fine. You'll never really know, I suppose, whether or not it's exactly or precisely what someone wants. And I think sometimes in these reciprocal situations, if someone's asking you to do a remix, they're appreciating your time and effort to put something forwards. And maybe sometimes there isn't such a push or an ask, if you like, to sort of, I don't know, push the boat out, go further, adapt it, change it, whatever. So really speaking, by the time I'd done the second remix, I was leaving that sort of environment in the same way I felt about the first remix I'd done. I wasn't sure if this is what people wanted. It seemed once I had my head in gear, I could kind of adapt to that framework. But I don't know where it was fitting in, if you like. So this is going to be quite an interesting studio talk in the sense that, here I am working on other people's projects, trying my best to work around them rather than giving my input, if that makes sense. But I'm laughing because obviously the third remix I worked on was back with John again. My memory's not great. People who know me will remember my memory is not great these days, especially, long-term memory, yes, that's absolutely fine, it's intact, but I'd imagine Alzheimer's is kicking in or something because things I did yesterday I can't often remember. But I do remember believing, actually knowing, I don't know what I'm saying believing, I know I liked Yellow Bird by Screamershock. And I can't remember if it was because John was asking me if he could do a remix of my Hangman track, which is possible, that we did a sort of mutual swap perhaps. Because I said, I think, I haven't brought the message up, I haven't done no history, this is all off the cuff. But I do believe that I kind of asked to work on this track, if that makes sense. So whether or not by this time I was trying to get more into the hang of remixes, or just seeing how I could adapt something, I'm not sure. But it was, from recollection, more interesting because, as I say, this was a top-notch track as far as I'm concerned. I really honed in on it. I don't even think it was John's main track on that particular release. But whatever the score, I really liked it, and I thought, if I could get my hands on that, I'd kind of like to do something with it. Just it'll sound really bad, but it was just like there was parts of the original track that were great as it was, but there was just John's got a funny way of doing music. Actually, it's definitely worth checking out. Screamershock music, because it's something else. I don't even know what genre it fits in. I'm not even sure if John could tell you himself, but it's definitely worth checking his music out because it's something else. It really is. It's just a lot of it's special, but I think he sometimes has bits of a track which are absolutely epic, and then he'll go quiet or something and then change and adapt. I'm laughing because it will do that, and I think that with this Yellow Bird, I just felt like it needed the extension of the particular part I liked, and literally speaking, I think that's why I did. So it was kind of, this was different in a way. This was like actually hearing a track you like and being able to manipulate it your way. So it did give me a different type of viewpoint, or a different way of actually working with the remixes, as far as I think I'm concerned. Here I am, no planning, no rehearsal, just thinking, hang on a minute, it's probably time to do another studio talk, plonking the camera right in front of me like that, and just going for it with the tracks above me or behind you. You don't know this. I like telling the truth, so it's the way it is. Now, I'm looking at dates and schedules now, because I think the next two mixes, even though they've been released in different orders, the remixes in this case were the other way around, and I think that in both cases, no, we'll be telling a lie there. No, in the case of working with Leg Puppy for the fourth remix, I did ask Darren if it was possible to grab hold of one of his tracks and work a remix. He was already putting tracks out to get remixed by other artists, and I really fancied especially the track I chose, which was quite interesting, because in some ways, unbeknown to myself, Darren kind of wanted to make up a remix version of the original album, but remixes of these tracks by other artists. So I was very fortuitous in some senses to actually get the track I really wanted to do, and that subsequently was Gravity. And this is when remixes really changed, because Darren, in some cases, obviously being in the business for some time, he himself knew what he wanted, and he made me work. Yeah, that's the right word for it, and I'm really pleased he did, because I fell right into the same trap really with Gravity, or Gravity X should I say, because the very first mix I did was entirely like I'd done before. It was based upon the same tune. It was adapted differently, but Darren was, he was polite. He was nice in saying it was okay, but it was too close to the original. So this is when I got tested. There was something like 4 or 5 different remixes, and I was making him laugh along the way as well. I won't go into that, but I was adapting the some of the lyrics, for instance, and putting some bits and bobs in there. And yeah, I got the right result. But yeah, them things couldn't stay in the remix. They do still exist. I still have them, and I may play them now and again to myself just to amuse me. But the final remix, as an example, was completely and utterly remixed. It was a track that had slight original arrangements, but then it just disappeared, and then I realised it was actually me, and that's what he wanted. So I think I got a learning of remixing by this stage. I really think I started to understand that remixing is you. It's about you, and it's really what the artists seem to want as well. They want you to. You've got the name of the track, but in theory they want you to produce something that's of its kind, but they want you in it. So it's, but there's no books, or there's no scripting, and I do believe that sometimes people may not care. It's just as long as you've had some input. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's how Gravity X finished, and was resolved. And I think Darren felt good about that too, because it made me work and maybe produce that. And then it came to IAmWarface, who most of you know that Matt and I known each other for a few years now, and it was really nice of him to ask me to be involved in his remix project too. Similar thing to Darren in a way. He's released their Year of the Dragon album last year, and then he wanted to make mixes on them tracks with other artists, and subsequently he was also giving them tracks out to people to offer their interpretations. Perhaps he was actually right to pass me on Red Queen, perhaps, I'm not sure, because like a lot of people, I wanted to do Say My Name, but then saying that, Say My Name is a heavy, powerful track in its own right anyway, and so subsequently what would I have done to that? I'll never know, but simultaneously it would have continued being a heavy, powerful track, I think. So maybe he took me out of my comfort zone by giving me Red Queen, because I'm not saying it's not a heavyish tune, but it's by far from some of the other tracks maybe not so rocky. It is and it isn't, if that makes sense. And it was quite interesting because I even though I was learning from Darren, I fell into the same catchment again with the beginning of Red Queen. I did a version of it, or a first early remix of the track, and it really was very reminiscent again of the original track. But again, I think I'd imagine it's my memory and my mind or Alzheimer's kicking in, that it made me forget some part of what Darren said. Though I did mention to Matt what Darren had told me, and that I was fine to be pushed if it's not gelling. But Matt's quite nice, Matt's nice in the sense that he won't be like that. But I think I forced him to be like that because subsequently he was just not. You could tell I could tell he wasn't feeling it, and wasn't too happy. He was like, "Come on, this is supposed to be a remix," and in the end, the One Eye to See remix of Red Queen, the finished product. Again, was by no way the original. Sorry, losing my mind here. There was probably a few remixes from starting to finishing, and so it was a bit of a tough journey. There was times where I was even thinking, what am I doing? What have I got involved? But simultaneously, really nice to finish the project as I did, and really get the feedback I got and the support. It's all learning curves, and as I say, I'm not sure where I am in the way of remixes, apart from the fact that making this video presently now today is on the back end of doing 2 new remixes for 2 of the previous artists. They've come in quick succession to some extent. One just over a month back, I believe, and one just a week or 2 back. One thing is with myself, people may realise this, if I say I'm going to do something, I always do it. I have the patience and the capacity, but I tend to put myself time limits on things, and if I feel like time is running away, or I'm not keeping in contact with people or whatever, I start having my own sort of guilt or something going on inside me, thinking, look, you've told people you're going to do something, you've got to come up with the goods. So I knew I had to factor in trying to get these remixes done, and simultaneously I was also finishing my own latest album project, which was really kind of important for me to finish. There's a different story there, and I was just about to embark upon it, and you guys know what I'm like already. I will move off on a tangent and start talking about something else. I think I will leave that for another day when I'm talking about the 10 Chords album. There was definitely something different in the way that album was produced, and the time and my work capacity and everything, but that did slightly have an impact on trying to do these remixes, because part of me was saying, you can't touch the remixes until you finish the album. So there was a sort of pressure popping up at that stage. I'm hoping this is still recording because that's gone off. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not sure what's going on. I think it is still recording. Technology, eh? That's thrown me out at the wrong time. Anyway, yeah, I'm back on track. It had an element of pouring some pressure and time into the actual making of the remixes, because as I say, I knew if I didn't finish my album, then I wasn't going to get the remixes done. Simultaneously, no one was giving me any hassle over getting the remixes done, but I needed to be, and especially this year, I'm not sure what's occurring really. Usually I'm straight in it. I'm sitting there day after day after day, sometimes relentless, hours and hours are going by, and I'm working, no problem with that at all. And yet in the last 2 or 3 months I'm not working the same way at all. I'm just not. If I don't feel it, I can't sit here and work. I just can't do it. And simultaneously, when I do come to sit and work, I work differently. But as I say, that's a different story. But just bringing you up to speed why the remixes took a little longer. But coming back to why I'm perhaps more interested in doing remixes now, is because these very last 2 remixes I've just done, I don't think I'm going to name the artist, but I will tell you it's artists I've done remixes for before. But when I came to do these remixes this time, I chose to go my way. And lo and behold, both artists have got back to me. It sounds like they're really enjoying the remixes I've created and done the right thing in a way, because it's testifying that, making a remix that sounds different is kind of what they were after all, perhaps. So I think going forward, if I come to making remixes now, I think I may have a different stance, or a different way of looking at it. I certainly enjoyed the process. I think we're only looking at the very first one that maybe I didn't so much, but it's like everything. Once you do something and then you keep going, it changes. So this is to remixes going forward, I suppose, and it gives you a brief insight into my involvement of how I felt and what I did, and how the interaction between the artists with creating them remixes. So hopefully you'll enjoy this video and take something from it. So thank you very much for tuning in.